So opening night, we're gonna go see it.
I hope it's good.
I really hope it's good.
So, this is the Nerdified Podcast at Nerdified on Twitter, Nerdified Podcast on Facebook and YouTube. I am here. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Paul, and with my co-host is Morgan. Say hi, Morgan.
What's up, everybody?
So bring it up. So this is the actual premiere podcast. The little first episode-ish was just a little run-in.
A little snippet of it.
Little taste. But, you know.
It's good that you got positive feedback, though.
Yeah, no. And, you know, it continues for me to do this one. So for those who haven't heard or haven't listened to the podcast, this is the Nerdified, which is a play on nerd, and neophyte, which is liking something but never really diving into it. And I like comic book movies, and I like movies in general. And I'm a real big fan of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so
Good universe to like. Good universe.
So we're just going to go over and talk about the things that I know about, and I'm solely based on the movies. If you want to comment about shit that happened in the comic book, go ahead, but I've never read any of the comics.
This is strictly MCU or DCEU.
So speaking of Marvel, the big closure of the merger, Disney, the mega company, it was a $71.3 billion sale.
Marvel used a lot of their money to get that, but they need those characters.
You know,
to make great
I think
movies.
it originally started out at like $50 billion.
Well, at first,
which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, well, at first Marvel brought it up. They're like, Fox, man, we want more characters, but that was more of like a we'll see. And now they spent 71.
Yeah, I understand. It wasn't just about Marvel.
No,
it wasn't just about the Marvel characters that Fox had access to.
Mm-mm.
It was a lot of other TV assets and entertainment assets that they wanted to get to buy. So it wasn't just the Fox characters that
But the Fox characters are probably one of the more better characters that
it's a plus because now all of the Fantastic Four,
Silver
X-Men,
Surfer.
all those characters are now back at home at Marvel, and
where
there's
they should
just
be.
and like we were talking earlier, they didn't need to. They still had plenty of material under the ownership that they have, right? But I'm glad because I'm really tired of watching shitty X-Men movies.
Oh.
I mean, okay, let me take that back. I like Days of Future Past, mainly because I really thought it was almost like a Hangover movie,
right?
With Professor X and Beast and Wolverine,
Yep.
And then they bring along Quicksilver. I mean, that was a pretty good one. First Class was okay.
See, I prefer Days of Future Past over First Class. If I don't know what X-Men movie to watch, I go for Days of Future Past.
No, yeah. If I had a favorite one of the current movies that they put out, it'd be Days of Future Past.
Man,
First Class was okay.
Apocalypse, I liked all of Apocalypse except for the final fight. Storm was too busy wondering if she wanted to fight. Jean was still scared of, if she released all of her powers, she wouldn't come back, which is understandable because what's inside of her is insanely strong.
Yeah, I mean, now that we know with Dark Phoenix coming out, that it's going to be like a space.
That's what it looks like.
Space demon.
It looks like part of it's going to be in space.
It's going to possess her. So I mean, that's the biggest part of why I'm glad that they bought it, because now maybe, but they're going to reboot everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to get recast except Deadpool.
Yeah, it's like I told you earlier. I'm more excited for the villains to come in than anything. These villains that are coming in are going to be one of the better villains that they can actually acquire through anybody else. Now
the biggest question is when are they going to make a move for Spider-Man? Because I don't think Sony's not going to give up Spider-Man.
Sony's smart. They'll let them keep him on loan for a bit.
The same thing that Sony had gone through was all these they weren't terrible movies.
No, they weren't. No.
Like, the first two Spider-Mans, they did like $1 billion worldwide, and then the third Spider-Man, I don't know what those dudes were thinking.
Neither do I.
That is the sorriest Spider-Man movie ever.
I like how they tried to introduce Venom, but they did not do it the right way.
Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Eric from that 70s show. He's going to be fucking Venom.
Eddie Brock. Okay, originally Eddie Brock's supposed to be big. That guy's like a twig still in that movie.
But my problem is that they start rushing in to make movies because they see the MCU just $1 billion here, $1 billion there.
Well, I think back then
worldwide.
when they released those two Spider-Man movies, Sony saw something in Marvel that they're gonna be here a little bit longer than I think they are.
Right. Yeah. And
they've had to because dude, they killed it with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, I watched that the other day. It was really good.
They killed it with that movie. They know it. So
I'll be honest.
Sony knows what they're doing with the characters they have.
When I watched Into the Spider-Verse, I was kind of like, because I'm not really a animated movie kind of guy. Because most animated movies are like Frozen, or unless it's like Shrek or
right. Yeah.
Some of the ones that are like comedy. That's kind of more. Yeah, like I've never seen Frozen. I've never seen Moana, which I'm told that I
need to watch Frozen, but I would over Frozen and Moana. I would rather watch Moana than Frozen.
And I haven't gotten. I know you have it on your Amazon deal, and I haven't watched it yet. I need to because people say, "Oh, it's a really good movie."
Moana's hilarious. It's funny.
Way back in the day, I didn't talking about like Moana. For some reason, way back in the day, I used to watch Lilo and Stitch. The cartoon.
That was a good one, man. That was a good one.
I watched it all the time. It cracked me up. So now we know. So Fantastic Four is one of the properties that
I heard some stuff
that
about
Marvel
that,
box. So what'd you hear?
Okay, so apparently John Kronkowski, the guy from The Office.
Krasinski.
Yeah.
What'd you call him? Cronkite?
Gronkowski.
The Gronk.
Dude, I did not know how to pronounce his last name, but so obvious. Apparently,
the Gronk is going to play. Reed Richards.
He already tried. They already fitted him. They've already seen what he was like in a Fantastic Four.
There was fan art. There was fan art where he was in a suit.
He actually went to Marvel though, and so they.
I think that's a good move.
Yeah, and so
because he can play a smart guy.
Oh yeah, and so in that interview, he's like, "Well, I also signed a contract saying I wouldn't talk about it, so I'm probably gonna die after this. So thanks, guys." But
yeah, no. You're not giving away plot, right? If you sign on to be a character, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're like giving away plot secrets, I don't really think Marvel cares. I think it's a running joke because they're so secretive, and you can't blame them for being
Tom Holland and freaking Mark Ruffalo.
Right. You can't blame them for they don't want this story to get out.
Yeah. Well, this story's been. We thought Infinity War is the big story. Endgame is the one that they've been actually building to, is what it looks like.
Yeah, well, I knew something, unfortunately, as good as Infinity War was, I knew it was going to be predictable, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew that the snap was going to happen, right?
We all knew. Well, I saw from the trailers, I was kind of getting a hint that Thanos was actually going to complete what he says he was going to complete.
Right, yeah. So you knew that the snapshot was going to happen. Half of the universe is going to disappear. Yeah. And then, we found out later that it wasn't just people. It was like animals and shit.
Oh, yeah. It was everything got affected, man. Bambi's mom was like, where the hell did Bambi go?
And so half of the world, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like the whole purpose of him obtaining the Infinity Stones was for him to save the universe.
Well, we talked about this earlier before the podcast. It seemed like, after he predicted that his planet was going to die off, and we saw the flashbacks of Little Gamora, that looked like he was just trying without anything. And
right.
It wasn't getting nothing done. From what he saw, it was just that one planet.
Right.
And so he decided, he's like, you know what, I'm going to get the Infinity Stones.
Well, when we talked about this too, it's the mindset of a terrorist. Yep. You know what I mean? They think they're doing the greater good by doing something really terrible.
Right, yeah.
And you just see that everywhere. It's like people who have this ideal.
That they're the one. They are the one that needs to do this.
Right. My way is the right way.
And if not, then get the hell out of my way.
Right. And I'm going to accomplish my task at all costs, even if the cost is
great.
Huge. Half of the universe. But it's like now, it's like politics. It's like people are convinced that their agenda is the right agenda. You know what I mean? That.
Yep.
and so they'll veto bills, and I
some
don't want
people-
to, and I don't want to get into politics
Yeah.
because I've vowed that this was just about comic books.
This is Nerdified. This is
right, but this is just to the idea that even though he thought he was doing the right thing, he was like really doing something horrible.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway,
Well,
back
he
to
sacrificed Gamora, man. He straight
Right.
up freaking chucked
so
her
getting
off
back
the
to my
cliff.
original point. So I knew Endgame was going to end with something dramatic. I mean, because that's how all movies are set up.
Yep.
You know, you have a beginning, you have a middle act, you have a third act. And we already knew at the time that they were filming Endgame. Well, we didn't know it was Endgame, but they were filming the fourth Avengers movie.
Well, they filmed both these movies at the
Right.
same time.
So I'm saying, so you knew a year later you were
Yep.
going to get whatever it was called at the time. And so I kind of knew, and I guess when, like I watch YouTubes and other people do predictions, and they were like, spoiler alert, what we could say could be true. And it's like, yeah, you could be true.
But they also did admit that they filmed a lot of fake scenes.
Right, 'cause
Like
nobody-
that scene we saw with Hulk running in Wakanda with everybody
You
else.
know,
That scene never
I'm sure
happened.
there's more encryption and security on a Marvel film now than they do with like government documents.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because everybody,
Well, everybody
it's
at
just
Marvel
a
loves
frenzy.
the movies they make.
it's all a frenzy to figure out what is going on.
Yeah.
And I want to know a little bit, but I also want a little bit to remain.
Well, see-
I like talking about it and thinking about
Yeah.
it and going to the movies and seeing if I'm right.
That's what I liked about the first Endgame trailer. It gave us nothing. It showed Thanos
No. It didn't
walking
need
through
to.
the field. It showed us, Tony looking like he was about to die. I
Yeah.
loved that trailer. It
It
showed
didn't
us
need-
absolutely nothing.
It didn't need to because we knew it was going down.
Yeah. Well, we already knew, Infinity War
Right.
after
'Cause
the snap.
What came before Infinity War?
It was
Black Panther?
no, it was Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok led into Infinity War.
Right. So you knew. I guess in the last Avengers, I guess it wasn't a Avengers per se. It was there was like a Avengers 2.5 or Avengers 3.5 with Civil War,
Yeah.
because you kind of had all the Avengers except Thor and
Yep.
Hulk. But even then, right, with the split, like if you watch enough movies and if you're into that sort of thing, you know when there has to be a redemption story.
Okay, well,
there has to be
that's-
a redemption
yeah.
arc. So right, so you have this group of tight guys fighting evil, having fun.
Well, I mean, they built Civil War up pretty quick too, because even in the first Avengers, Tony and Steve were getting pissed off at each other. He's like, "Yeah, put the
Well,
suit on. Let's go." A few
yeah,
rounds."
well, that's what even the first Avengers, even in Ultron, Avengers Ultron, where, Tony, goes behind his team's back.
But he did it because he thought the world needed it, and they're always not gonna.
Okay.
They're not always gonna be there.
Well, no. What'd you just say? That he did. He went around everybody because he thought the world needed.
Yeah, he thought
What
the
the
world
hell?
needed
That's the
it.
same thing that Thanos did. Is because he thought the universe needed for half of it to
Yeah.
disappear. Right.
Yeah.
So now you
Everyone's
have
got a bit of Thanos in them, man. Everyone.
right. Well, it's just that ego, right, and
Yeah.
that ideology, and it's mostly ego. It's not even that. Like if I thought, well, to save on electricity, I'm gonna burn down half of my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's so extreme when it could just
Well,
be
see, we
like,
saw-
I'll just turn the lights off
we
after I
saw
leave a
in-
room.
Yeah, we saw in Age of Ultron, Bruce tried to tell him like, "No, dude, this, we got to tell the team, or we can't do it behind their
But
back."
I'm just telling you, and that's why you have Thanos on one end as the villain, and you have Tony, even though it's kind of
Yeah.
like Captain America is the moral compass. It started with Tony Stark.
Well, see,
and
I'm
it
just
ended
saying,
with
the rest of the
Thanos.
Avengers did not see what Tony saw. He saw all those people ready to come at them again, and he
Right.
threw that nuke at him. And then,
No, and I understand that, and that's true. But the point I'm getting at is that, Tony and Ultron, he got that little jazz from he got
Yep.
the jazz hands from Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
Saw the Avengers dead. Saw the what are those
them
things
dead
called?
or still dying, because he never.
what the hell was that army that came in from New York?
Chitauri.
Yeah. So you saw the Chitauri and those big slugs
Yep.
flying. He saw
Yep.
everybody jacked up, and like you said, either dead or dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so so you take Tony that saw that, right?
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
then you see Thanos with Titan,
And
right?
you saw that too.
So you got two super smart people, two guys with massive egos, and two guys that done.
And two of them, and they're both in a way futurists. They see they're
Well,
not looking
of
at what's
course.
going on now.
Yeah.
They're saying, if we do this, what's gonna happen afterwards.
But they're so much alike
yeah,
because
Yeah.
they're both super smart. They both have seen things that are horrible, and instead of like talking it out
yeah. See, that's
Or-
the bad thing about Tony, man.
or finding some other way to accomplish the goal without like mass murder.
yeah. Well, he told Nick Fury, and even Nick was like, well, yeah, I mean that does suck, but you also help more than you think you do.
Right. But I'm just saying, and now that's where it's book ending. Well, at least for
Yep.
in Infinity War, you have Tony that was kind of started it all, and then Thanos that was going to end it all.
Yeah.
And so they have
Yeah.
this big throwdown, and then you have the fight on Titan with everybody and Peter Quill messing it all up for everybody.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, they could have blown up that stone in Vision's head earlier too, though. Because then if he would have done that, he would have had to reverse the whole movie just to get that stone again.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I understand for the movie to pace. I understand that it needed, they were almost there.
Yeah.
Tony and Spider-Man almost had the gauntlet off, and then what's Gamora's sister? I always forget her name. Nebula has to go off and be like, yeah, he killed Gamora.
The giant size
Right? It's
Smurf.
like why would you say that
Yeah.
at that one time when you know that Quill was going to flip out?
See,
And
Gamora's not really.
they literally had the gauntlet at the fingertips,
Yep.
getting it off, and then all of a sudden you're going to drop that bombshell on Quill, and you think he's not going to freak and start and ruin it, which he did.
Yeah. Well, see, I think so now I watched a video yesterday, and I'm thinking, they're going after Thanos, right? They're going at him, and he's going after them, and they're going back and forth, right?
Right.
I think because they're saying there's supposed to be another villain in there.
In Endgame.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking, and I hate tying back to the comics because these are the movies. This is the
Right. No.
universe they made.
But I mean,
But in the comics, Nebula ended up getting the gauntlet.
Well, it's reference material.
Yeah, and Nebula ended up getting the gauntlet. and
Now
she
I don't think that
just as bad.
I don't think she is going to get the gauntlet
No,
in Endgame.
because she wouldn't do it to save the universe. She'd do it out of spite of Thanos. She'd be like,
Right.
you did this to me for all of my life. Now I'm gonna fix what you did, but then also mess with you still.
Right. Yeah. I think it's got to be Cap. I think it's got to be Cap that wears the gauntlet. I think they make one out of
Cap.
vibranium, or they make one out of Uru or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's got to be somebody with the moral compass,
Yeah, I think it is gonna be Cap.
right?
That just because after that Tony would be like, well, now we have to fight harder. Now we gotta
Well,
avenge better than we did.
but
back,
that's why they
back in the
also
day.
set up, T'Challa and Black Panther,
Yep.
because for him to come in and kind of lead the Avengers or Captain Marvel, I mean, whatever, I don't care,
Whoever takes the reins.
right? Because Captain Marvel has kind of like she has a good moral compass,
Yeah.
and so yeah, but I think it's going to be Cap that sacrifices himself to bring
I think it is
everybody
too.
back, because I
Yep.
don't. Chris Evans, and like we talked about on the first half of podcast, that I don't want him to go away forever, but you saw what it did to Thanos,
Yep.
who was like 8 feet tall and, a giant,
Oh yeah.
and it jacked up his arm,
Almost the whole left side of his body got
Right.
jacked up.
is fused to him. So if he gets damaged that much with using all 6 stones, what is that going to do to Captain America? Even though he's a super soldier,
Well,
right?
yeah. The serum can only do so much though. It can't-
Right. Yeah, and so I think it's going to be Cap that's going to sacrifice himself in order to bring everybody back.
We're saying Cap, but I was reading some people are saying it's going to be Hulk because he's able to take a little bit more damage than anybody. But I don't see Hulk being that guy to, like they said in the first Avengers, to lay down
Right.
and cut the wire.
No.
I see more of Steve coming up saying I need to do this because if not, everyone's gonna a second snap's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, and it makes me sad a little bit because, if you look like in any movie where a hero is going to sacrifice himself, he has Civil War, Peggy Carter dies.
Yep.
Right, and that was his last link to his past.
Well, that's the last link to his old life before he was even
Right.
Captain America.
And even since he's been back, he's been a man out of time. You know what I mean?
He said in Winter Soldier he's only in Shield because she helped found it.
Right.
So he's doing it kind of for her because she's the only connection he has.
Well, you know,
the past.
He was given all these abilities, and he needs to be a hero.
Yep.
Otherwise, why have all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, you know, how Peter told Tony in, you know, Civil War,
Does it for
if
the
I
little
can
guy.
do what I can, but don't.
And then the bad things happen.
Yeah, it's
on
me.
him. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the same thing that Cap is going through. And I think for him to make a sacrifice, it's not he's not sacrificing. It's like it's almost like he's going home. You know?
Yeah.
Wherever that may be.
Well, we've seen in the trailers, you know, he looks at the compass like he did before he fell into the ice. He's like,
right,
I'm gonna see you again.
Yeah.
Even if it means, you know.
Right, wherever.
Yeah, whatever happens next. I know.
Now, here's the thing: is it going to be him and Peggy in the Soul World through the Soul Stone?
I don't think she's gonna be in the Soul Stone though. I think if Cap dies,
now you're starting to get into like an ideology, theology. Really is like, so in the MCU, is the Soul World, is that heaven?
I mean, technically it could be.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So all those people. Now there's a lot of theories saying that it was an alternate dimension.
Well, it's a pocket dimension if we're talking about the Soul World,
yeah.
is because it's inside of something.
But that's where everybody went.
Yep.
Everybody that dusted away on Earth or in the universe went to the pocket dimension.
Yep.
And that's where they're going to be. And this is also a theory of an alternate universe. Well, guess what exists in an alternate universe? Mutants.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now you have this crossover.
Dude, that's
And you have
so
the
excited about
MCU
this.
heroes and you have
Fox
the
and
X-Men
Disney
heroes
crossover.
all switching over.
Yeah.
You know, and now there's a reason. Now here is like a bridge moment to bridge, you know, the Fox characters, the X-Men, and the Avengers. I guess you would say.
have talked about alternate dimensions for a while now because we had to explain to people, you know, this plate can be, you know, this is MCU. This is where everyone either makes their own powers or they're gifted these powers.
Right.
And then we said in this plate,
Iron Man made his own power. Captain
Mm-hmm.
America was given. Banner was an accident.
Wanda got,
you know,
experimented on and got her powers.
Right. So now you're going to bridge into where these people just spontaneously is like, you know, DNA.
Whatever tragedy happens to them, it awakens whatever's inside of them. That's already been there.
Well, if you follow that from Deadpool, it's like everybody has a dormant mutant gene. It just takes extreme circumstances for it to manifest.
Yep.
And
I'm so excited about this merger, though, dude. All these characters that are about to come in. But I heard with this deal, they can't even touch those characters for 2 years after the deal is completed, and the deal's already completed. Yep.
No way.
Yep.
That don't make sense.
That's what I've heard.
All I'm saying, if I was Bob Iger, right, who's the CEO of Disney, and I'm having to explain to all my shareholders that, well, you know, we did buy Fox, but we can't do anything with the characters for 2 years.
Well, that's what I've heard. They're saying that they can't touch those characters for 2 years. I mean, they can hint at them. Yeah, they can hint at them all day. But
well, I think they can't do anything different with productions that are already coming out.
Yeah.
Like
well, they have to wait for Dark Phoenix to come out to reboot.
But there's other movies. There's another movie too. There's New Mutants.
Yeah.
Right, that we haven't heard nothing about in almost a year.
Yeah.
Because they pushed back the release date, and now we know we have.
They're reshooting again, so they're going to be pushed back again.
Right. So what I'm saying is like things that are already in production. It would cost them more money to stop, right? Because they've already shot Dark Phoenix. It's already in the can. It's premiering.
I'm not saying, you know, these movies that are in production they have to stop. I'm just saying, you know, after the deal and after these movies that are post deal finish up, after those, they're probably gonna hint at these when these movies are done. They're gonna, you know, some way. But from what I've heard, they said they can't.
I don't think it's the fact that they can't touch them. I just think that any movie is at least 2 years away.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they still have to recast everybody.
Right, because you have Endgame this year, right? Then you have Spider-Man,
Far From Home,
right? And then there's nothing for the rest of the year Marvel-wise.
Other than that, we've heard confirmed sequels like Black Panther has a confirmed sequel.
And all those will be shooting now.
Yep.
You know, they'll all be shooting during this downtime. You know, and which is, for me, I don't, yeah, I like the anticipation of having a movie, but it's just like this Homecoming deal was the same gripe I had about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
So now you have Homecoming following whatever the hell happens in Endgame.
Yep.
Right?
Or Far From Home, but yeah.
Right. So I remember when I went to see Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was more interested in seeing the end credits than it was the actual movie.
Yeah.
Because I was still kind of reeling from Infinity War, you know?
Yeah.
And so what happened is that later on, months later, when it came out on, you know, DVD or
Digital,
and I watched it again, I enjoyed it more the second time, because this time I had already digested everything from Infinity War.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think it's going to be the same thing that, I mean, well, probably not, because Spider-Man and Ant-Man are two different characters. One is vastly more popular than the other.
Yep.
But I think
one's had vastly more movies than the other two.
Right. And I think it would have done that movie better had they had pushed it later on, right? Yeah. You give us the whole, we're still in mourning, going through all the seven steps of grief and, you know, death from all these people dying. And then, you know, September, October, you know?
That'd probably be the more ideal time to release.
Right? Drop Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you start, this movie's coming out. But when you kind of all pack it all in a few months, you know, because we had Captain Marvel in March, we got Endgame in April, and then Spider-Man's in July, right?
Yeah, July 9th or something like that.
Right. So anyway, within months of each other, and then nothing for the rest of the year. And all we do, especially now after Endgame, is like, who knows what the landscape is going to look like as far as the MCU. I mean, we know Gunn is back, but we still may not get a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 until 2021. So you're talking 2 years out.
Earliest is 2021, maybe.
Right. So maybe next year we get a Black Panther sequel, and we get a Doctor Strange sequel, and then, I mean, they may throw... It depends on now, after this merger, that they may be greenlighting on a lot of other projects. Because part of me wants to think that once the merger started in negotiations, it would have been prudent for them to be like, maybe even under the radar, start like farming out scripts. You know what I mean?
Now that this merger is done, I bet you're pretty excited, because these characters that are coming in are going to be pretty good. Not even just the superheroes, but the villains, man. These villains, like Doctor Doom. Yeah. We will now see a good Doctor Doom in the movies.
Yeah, because we've had
Jack Squat with Doctor Doom.
And I do know this, and from the comic books, that from, you know, YouTube videos that I've watched, they have sorely, you know, given everybody a version of Doctor Doom that they've gotten on the screen. And I think, you know, and when we get to like Shazam is coming out, and it looks really good. The trailers look awesome. Zachary Levi, he looks, you know, he's a funny guy, and I think he's gonna.
The only thing I'm worried about, though, is, like I told you before the podcast, I looked up the director, and for pretty much he's solid. Like Lights Out, that was a pretty good movie. For a horror movie, that was a good movie. The only thing I'm worried about is his own. The other movie that he did was not the best, and that was Annabelle Creation. So that was a prequel before The Conjuring and a prequel before Annabelle, and nobody, you know, wanted that. And the reviews I read were just, you know, well, there's no point to have this movie out. So in that sense, I'm kind of scared to go see the movie, but then again, I'm not, because, like I said, like Shazam, he's a good actor.
Well, it's not a bad thing to bring a new perspective, you know, a new vision. Yeah. Because let's face it, man. You know, like Wonder Woman was the first and second act was really good.
That was
right.
DC's
third act. It kind of fell short. Aquaman, I didn't hate it. Yeah. I went to see it. It was entertaining, but if I'm being honest, it was a Jason Momoa It was.
They were letting Jason Momoa be Jason Momoa.
Well, he was carrying the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, Amber Heard's character. I mean, she was good looking. I don't want to be sexist, but
the only average movie she's been in is Never Back Down, and not a lot of people have seen that movie.
And it's not that she's not a good actor.
No.
And there was really good action scenes, but
they played off each other well. But for a movie, for that long of a movie, they couldn't afford to have Jason Momoa carry that by himself.
And I catch myself, and I don't want to be biased because we've really gotten some shitty DC movies in the last few years.
DC, they have interesting characters. They have probably the most interesting characters I've seen on screen.
Right, but
they don't know how to do a good movie though, dude.
Right. Well, because they're always in a rush to make money.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think so the average movie I like to watch, I don't know what else to watch, is Justice League. The only reason why that movie did not get what it deserves is because halfway through, Zack Snyder had to leave for family. Like
and I get that.
And so they were like, well, we'll bring in someone who's done it before. So they brought in Joss Whedon. So we got two different ideas at one for the half of the movie.
Right, it turns into two different movies halfway through the movie. It's not a constant arc.
Well, Zack Snyder, I know why they brought him back because he killed it in the movies he's done before. Like, he did 300. He did all these movies he's done before. He's killed it.
No, it's not that he's a bad director. But with Zack Snyder, you know, it's like a Michael Bay movie.
Yep.
There's Michael Bay all over it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like shiny and sweaty and glistening and big explosions and dark black smoke and all this shit.
If he didn't leave halfway through, it probably would have been a better movie than it turned out to be.
I would hope so.
Because we got two different ideas and two parts of the movie.
You know, and this whole debacle over the Batman movie, you know, the Batman sequel now.
I'm trying not to look too far into that because I want to go in fresh mind because
but this is the thing is like I don't understand. I understand you need a good script.
Yeah.
And I want a good script. And I want them to like this Matt Reeves guy's coming in and it's supposed to be like a more of noir kind of detective and possibly
more of a detective than we've seen so far.
Right.
From what
I mean, in the Dark Knight trilogy, I mean, he had like sophisticated forensics and, you know, he recreated that bullet that he tracked down to the Joker and all that stuff. But in the comics, you know, that I remember, and mostly because I watched Batman the animated series. And
that's a good series.
I really love that. But he
series.
Was more of a detective.
Yeah.
Like he was investigating clues. He was questioning witnesses. He was, you know, running the evidence and, you know, in between all that, he had cool shit and gadgets and drove around the rag
and every
car.
once in a while, we'd see a pretty good fight scene.
Right. But what I'm really excited about is, did you ever watch Batman Beyond?
Yeah.
I mean, this came out in like, I don't know, it was like the early 2000s. I mean, you may have been young.
I grew up watching Batman Beyond.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And so that's set into the future.
Yeah.
You have an older Bruce Wayne. You have like this young buck
guiding the young buck.
He's right. You have an old curmudgeon and a Bruce Wayne.
You got the old Gotham
guiding this young kid and giving him all this cool equipment and have him going out and fight crime. Now, I think that would be an excellent movie, but I want to see it.
Their universe isn't set in stone yet to have a movie in the future. Well, not set in stone, but it's not strong enough like it is for the MCU. MCU, their foundation is solid. Like they've made solid movies.
But I think that they've made a good turnaround so far with Aquaman because having, you know, do $1 billion at the box office, I mean, I really think a lot of that had to do with Momoa.
It was.
I mean,
killed it.
Justin Lin, the director, I mean, you know, like he directed a Fast and Furious, right? I think it was 6.
Yeah.
Where they're in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's that whole montage of where The Rock's character is chasing Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
And it's that side view, and he's like running through buildings. And you got the same exact running shot in Aquaman, where they're in Italy. I think it was Italy.
Yeah, it was.
Right? And you got them running through the buildings and these people chasing them. And I just thought, man, it's like, man, you had all that money.
Yep.
And
just recreate the scene.
right, and it's just like his go-to move is to
Yeah.
have like this running scene, and I was just like,
See,
man,
that's why I'm worried
Ooh.
about going to see Shazam. I really think Shazam's going to be good.
what,
I just don't want to go in full-hearted saying this can be the most BA movie I've ever seen. I want to go in there
Right.
chill-headed, like, because for the most part, DC has tried to make good movies, and they've just fell flat sometimes.
yeah, and like I said, I just I want it to be good. It looks funny. It looks good. The villain looks really good. You know, and I really want to see a Batman Beyond movie, but
Yeah.
I would like to see it in the same way as like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of like, it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's kind of like a dystopian,
Yeah.
you know, New York or Gotham City, you know, years after Batman.
Well, if they're gonna do a Batman Beyond, I want to see, Bruce being the old guy, being the old Gotham, and bringing in the new Gotham, the young guy, trying to teach him how to do this and how to be a
Well, I mean,
Batman
that
he
that
wants
wasn't
him to be.
exactly the premise, right? Because I think in Batman Beyond, it had been years since Batman had been fighting crime.
He looks retired and he looks just
Right? It's sort of like the same thing that you saw in The Dark Knight Rises, right? Where Catwoman breaks into
and he's
Wayne
exiled
Manor,
himself,
and he's just like he's hobbled and he's
Yeah.
just injured, and he has all this, all this damage that he took on his body from all
Yeah.
those years fighting crime. And that was kind of like the Bruce Wayne that you got in Batman Beyond. It's like he's just an old guy, man. He can't do
Yeah.
it anymore. And so now you got this young kid, athlete, smart, has an attitude, and he just saw, it's like you almost saw another Robin.
right. Yeah.
And so he gives him this Batman, these high-tech suit and all this cool gadgets, and he goes out and fight crime. I want to see that same kind of stuff. I want to see that same kind of origin story.
Yeah.
But I want to see it. I don't want to like a super, flashy future. I
Yeah.
want to like kind of like Blade Runner, like,
Yeah.
and even like more like the 2049 versus the original, because the original was a great movie. Have you ever seen the original?
No.
Yeah, you should watch that. But everything is like super dark and it's super wide shots, and it's a masterpiece. I'm not saying it's bad, but at least with 2049, you have more. It was more cinematic, and it was still the same kind of future. And so I just hope that that's the direction that they go when they decide
If
to
they
do a
do
Batman
one, yeah.
Beyond movie. But it's okay. So, man, we went down a rabbit hole on that one.
Right.
So
Tell him to come back.
the time to come back and getting ready to wrap this up, we're going to go with our in-game predictions. So we're in agreements on it's going to be Cap that sacrifices himself, or do you have an alternate? You want to stick with the Hulk?
Probably gonna go with Cap. It'd make more sense just because Hulk, dude. We saw a more advanced Hulk than we saw in any other Hulk and Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
That one, he was more, he was still kind of a kid. He was kind of like in his like preteens from what I got.
Because he was kind of like a bro.
Yeah,
He wasn't like a a world smasher or like a super. Like he had.
But one of my predictions for Endgame is, the older. I put that in quotations because they get the CGI is getting better with the Hulk than what they're doing now.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is, in the posters he's got a haircut. It looks like someone clipped him up.
It's like somebody.
Yeah,
Like,
and so I'm thinking.
I wonder if he gets his haircut as Banner, because in Ragnarok he had a haircut too.
Yeah.
Because if there was a time difference, he would have had like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Hulk with like a mullet?
Got a beer gut.
Awesome. I don't think he could ever have a beer gut, but just to see him rocking
my
a mullet
prediction
would have been fantastic.
for that character is there's a character in the comics that's called the Professor Hulk, and it's the strength of Hulk but the mind of Banner.
Right.
So if I'm
saying,
saying
that's where all the outlets were kind of leading to. That's
and
what
so I'm
he's gonna
saying
develop.
if the Hulk does have the Infinity Gauntlet and does it himself, it's gonna be Bruce. It's gonna be mentally Bruce. He's gonna be
right.
So they're gonna be sharing it. But I don't know. I really think they're going strong for Cap. But I mean, easily if it's Professor Hulk that's going to come out in Avengers Endgame.
Right.
I think if it's not Cap, it's going to be Hulk.
Well, I mean, and I'm not coming to all these on my own. I watch YouTubes all the time because it
Oh
doesn't.
yeah, me too.
It doesn't bother me to watch like other people's perspective on how they think the movie's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? Because so we know that they're going to try to. What we don't know is that there is maybe time travel. We're not for sure.
Well, like I said in the first episode, I think if they're gonna go into the quantum realm theory and the time travel theory is gonna mix because there's those time vortexes they can take.
Right.
And if they're smart enough, they could be like, oh well, if they calculate, they'll be like, oh, we'll land here. Then yeah, we can go there.
And there's some people that are saying that at some point, because even on some of the toys, they allude to a bigger threat.
Yeah.
Right. So at some point, Thanos even gets a redemption arc. Like he even
tries to help out, or
like he comes in and he helps out the Avengers.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that.
That's a big if. That's
right. I know that a lot of people are speculating that the first part of the movie is like immediately following Infinity War. And they like squad up. Yeah. They squad up and like, yo, we're gonna go find this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And they go over there, and of course, he may be damaged. He may be.
He still got that full set of Infinity Stones.
He still has a full set of Infinity Stones. And it's not gonna be a pushover.
Yeah, he's not gonna be like, oh god, no, please stop.
Yeah, it's not like he took Stormbreaker to the chest.
Yeah.
And survived. And
just
then when you saw him in the end, he was healed.
He's not done throwing moons at people.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, which would be that any person would do. Like if somebody rolled up on like your girlfriend or my brother, and I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna stand for this. I'm gonna squad up.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go after somebody.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they're gonna do in the beginning of the movie is that they just got their asses handed to them.
And so they're pissed off.
Super pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
And so now they're like, yo, we're going to squad up. We're going to go back at them. And they're going to get their asses handed to them again.
And they're going to run off. And then, like I said...
And then it's like, hey, let's pump the brakes. You know?
Yeah. We got the shit's not working, guys.
Yeah. After we done took 2 ass whoopings, right?
And this guy's damaged already, guys. Yeah. He's already kicking our ass still.
Yeah. It's like, maybe we need to regroup. Meet back at base, and kind of try to come at a different angle.
Well, see, now that
and I think after that, that's when you see Captain Marvel come in.
Yep.
Because I can't remember in the Captain Marvel post credit that because I think was it Captain Marvel or Captain America that still had the beard, right?
Yeah.
When they were trying to repower the pager.
Yeah. Yeah, he still has beard.
And then at the end, Captain Marvel shows up and it's like, where's Fury? And so I think even she is with the squad when they squad up and go back after, because they have said in other interviews and videos that she will get exposed of having a weakness.
Yep.
Now they ended Captain Marvel where she's just wrecking house.
Oh yeah, she's
just wrecking everything, blowing missiles out of the air.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like punching spaceships with her fists.
Right, like Thor did when he came down with Stormbreaker and started killing those Outrider ships.
See, I wonder. Okay, so we didn't get to hear her physically say her name is Captain Marvel, or no one's called her Captain Marvel.
Well, I think they're not going to be.
I'm thinking, if Cap does sacrifice herself, she's going to take upon herself to try to carry it, and she'd be like, well,
and she could, but again, and I'm harping on this because I really don't want Captain America to go away.
No, I really don't either, but
it is comic books, it is movies, and nobody ever really dies, It's like, well, we thought you were dead, Cap. And he's like, nah, I was here or somewhere.
I was just sleeping 70 years, man.
Yeah,
I was tired, man.
So yeah, I think they squad up, go back at Thanos, get their asses kicked, then they have to come back to Earth and kind of like lick their wounds for a while.
Right. And
during all that, you start to see, and I even think during this time that you see that Ant-Man is still kind of like floating around, and then to him it may not be that long, but when he comes into one of those time vortex, and he comes out and he's like, he finds a world that's been months, maybe even a year later, following the snapshot, and now he's like, probably finds that his daughter's gone.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much because.
Okay, so we found out, he wiped out 50% of all living things. It wasn't just, if you have a family, it's half the family.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see how Hawkeye is going to be, because they never said, well, if you have, half a family, if you have a family, it's going to take out half of it.
Well, it's like
I'm thinking
it's
his
random.
whole family probably got dusted. Because we saw him in one of the trailers. He's freaking cutting people up with swords. He's pissed off about something.
If you look at how it all ended on Wakanda, it was more people, right?
Yeah.
And so people disappearing kind of felt like it was 50-50.
Right.
Then you go to Titan, and you have the Guardians, you have Nebula, you have Tony.
Almost all the Guardians except Rocket went.
Right. So only 2 left on Titan is Nebula and Tony.
Yeah.
Right? So that tells you that it's not always going to be even.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
If you have 6 people in your family, you may lose 5.
Yeah.
The next person may only lose 2 or 1.
Yeah. That's why I'm interested to see Hawkeye, because he's carrying himself more pissed off than I've ever seen him in any of the movies.
It'd be one thing to say if his wife dusted away and he still had his children. It's like, as cold as that may seem. I think any grown adult
losing
had a choice to lose.
Significant to him.
Yeah, if I was like, your wife disappears or your kid disappears, and even if I love my wife, I'm like, I think she would want to go so the kids wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you have Hawkeye, who's just kind of at home, chopping wood, watching his family have a picnic, and next thing you know, he just everyone goes away. Yeah. Who wouldn't lose their shit if they watched their whole family dust away?
If no one got mad at, say someone's family got dusted, if they weren't mad, there's something already wrong with them anyway.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, they're gone.
Yeah, and Hawkeye, dude, we saw him. He's not even carrying a bow. He carried a sword in that one trailer, dude. He's chopping people.
No, when he turns and looks at Black Widow in that trailer,
that's the only sense of calmness he can get, is seeing a fellow friend.
Well, I mean that, and it wasn't just it wasn't calm.
No, he was still pissed off. You can't hide that anger.
He's dead inside.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, all the things that made him. Even in Civil War, where they were going at it, he still had this maintain, he still had this kind of positive attitude.
Well, see, that's what I'm wondering, because we see in the trailer too, he starts showing affection again, but that's only toward Nat. He's known Nat for what I've seen, probably for a lot of his time in S.H.I.E.L.D., because he was the one that was supposed to take her out, and then he brought her into it.
No, yeah. And so, to see a friendly... Well, she's probably the only person that could have rolled up on him.
Well, yeah.
Only because, despite whatever, Black Widow is still a badass in her own right.
Yep. She'll hold her own, yeah.
She was squabbing with everybody.
Well, she wasn't afraid to fight him in Avengers. She took him out in Avengers.
No, and then, she went up against Proxima.
Oh, yeah, Proxima. Yeah.
Proxima Midnight in Infinity War and held her own.
Oh, yeah. For a big chunk of it, she held her own, too.
So, and like you said, it's like she could hold her own against Hawkeye, and they have that familiarity. They have that past. They have that, that history together. So, yeah, she probably could be the only one that could have went up there and brought him back.
Calm. He's still pissed off because, dude, he just lost his whole family, man.
He's lashing out.
Yeah.
You could tell by the way. I mean, he may, that's another crazy thing is sometimes when people are upset and they take it out on other sorry people, they feel like they're doing a good thing. Because it's it's not like I'm just taking it out on the mailman.
Well, see,
I'm running up and shooting a drug dealer because I'm angry at the world. And it's it doesn't make it.
In that trailer, we also see, the guys that he's taking out are wearing suits. So it's either they're part of something.
Right.
So it's either it's targeted rage or it's, I don't give a hell.
No,
I don't give a raging who you are.
That's what that's probably that's more of what he's going through is that he has this
unbridled rage.
Yeah, it's insatiable. He can't. I mean, his family is gone.
Yeah.
All he wants to do is
he's broken.
He's hurt, and he just wants to inflict pain. But there's still a good side of him that it says, if I'm just going to cut loose, I'm gonna cut loose on some assholes
right people.
that
do it
deserve
on the right people.
Yeah. It's like Dexter. You ever seen Dexter?
Yeah.
So, Dexter's dad sees that he, has got some kind of crazy serial killer going on. He goes, you know what? Instead of just, killing a soccer mom, why don't we go kill some real assholes that deserve to die?
Yeah.
And so, that's what you're seeing Hawkeye. Is he's at his lowest, and he's unbridled rage. Mode. Yeah, and there's still a part of him that doesn't want to hurt innocent people. So whatever he needs
Yep.
to work, the shit he needs to work out, he's going to
Well,
work out chopping
was-
up Yakuza in Japan.
Well, it was like that in Deadpool. You know, he got his powers. He was right. He wasn't pissed off at everybody. He was more pissed off that, you know, this guy messed up his face.
Yeah.
He went,
Yeah, that was
targeted rage.
That was
It
more like it was
a
rage,
selfish
but it
rage.
was vanity.
Yeah, it was a selfish rage.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like
But
a
then
revenge.
again, because Hulk, dude, every time he has to target it. It can't just be let Hulk do Hulk. He's got to target
Right.
it. So there's
Well,
still
at least
part
in
of
the
Bruce.
beginning.
He targets it. He's like, you know, put your rage on this guy or these
Right.
group of people over here. Don't block out these
it's
people
almost
right
like
here.
it's almost like a laser. It's like you
Yeah.
got to point it in the right direction
Yep.
for it to burn what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, is Captain Marvel going to be the savior of Endgame? I don't know. It's not going to hurt to have her in the squad.
In my opinion, this Endgame is about the OGs.
Yeah.
So I get she's a new face. She's part of the new Avengers. I don't want her to take away the spotlight from the original Avengers though.
And I don't think she will. I don't think it's going to be like. I think you're right. It's all going to be focused because it's a bookend.
Yeah, this is the bookend for the original cast. So this is
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to say from 2012 to 2019, yeah, these two movies are going from the first Avenger to Avengers Endgame. It was going to be at least for this phase and this cast of characters.
This is their culmination. This is
right.
their
I don't see
ending.
that she's going to like overpower and take over. I think everybody's going to have their part to play.
Yep. Everyone's gonna have a badass moment. I think everyone's gonna have their
But
time
I think
to shine.
when it comes down to the for real, you know, like the real stuff that matters, it's going to be an Avenger that's going to, you know, jump on the grenade or
Yep.
take the Tesseract or, you know, grab the Infinity Stone or whatever
whatever
it needs to do.
it is, whatever needs to be done,
Right.
the OGs will. One of them or anyone, really.
Yeah. Either way, I'm super excited. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we're like 5 weeks away now.
Right, dude, we're getting
I
closer.
mean,
man.
luckily for me, or in you two, that we don't have to go, but maybe a couple weeks, and then we'll be worrying about Game of Thrones, the final season coming on, and we'll be focused on that. And then once we see the ending of that, well, no, was it? No, 2 weeks after the Game of Thrones, the last season premieres, and then you get Endgame.
Yep.
So at least we'll have a little distraction. And then we'll lead in, and then, man, we'll just have to talk about what happens after Endgame.
Right.
Well, we're going to wrap it up. This has been the Nerdified Podcast. You can find it on the YouTube channel /Nerdified Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Nerdified, NERDAPYPHYTE, if I can spell it. Nerdified at Nerdified on Twitter. And you can like the Facebook page at Nerdified Podcast on Facebook. Big shout out to my man Morgan for coming in and doing another podcast.
Anytime,
This is
Paulie,
actually
anytime.
this is the premiere episode. It went super well in my opinion. We talked way longer than I thought we would originally. The music has ran out, but we kept going. But stay tuned. We'll have more podcasts to follow. See you guys later.